There is no one in this world who can dominate me. Who in the world can fight? 10,000 years ago, the world of the 9 immortal prisons collapsed, and a group of immortals fled. 10,000 demons broke the seal, and all the heavens and realms collapsed one by one. 10,000 years later, the young Chen Chi obtained the Immortal Prison Map to conquer the world, rose against the sky, and could control all the heavens and all the realms with one hand. Cultivate the chaos-swallowing heaven technique, evolve the power of chaos, and with just one thought, one can swallow the sky. Melt eternal blood, forge the supreme body forever, and kill through the cycle of time alone. Chapter 1. Prison Lock. The Dragon, Man Like a Ghost Fang. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Jianghua, inside the border prison cave of Qingyun Academy. Chen Chi woke up, and the bone-wrenching pain made him furrow his brow. By the faint light, one could see his peep a bone pierced through by 2 rivets, and his entire body nailed to the stone wall. Dark red blood flowed down the stone wall and dripped onto the ground. Hee, even if I don't die like this, my life is really tough. A sneer came into Chen Chi's ear. Chen Chi lifted his head with difficulty, and when he saw the ugly face of Yun Chongshan's father and daughter, anger instantly swept through his chest. Why treat me like this, why? Chen Chi frantically tugged at the shackles, and the mournful roar echoed in the prison cave, like a desperate ghost Fang. He treated Yun Chongshan as his father and Yun Qianwei as his sister, and he paid countless fees for it. A year ago, Yun Chongshan became obsessed with greed and recklessly entered the abyss of the fallen gods, disregarding life and death, to retrieve the condensed god grass for him. Yun Qianwei was born with unstable spiritual roots, and he used his heart's spiritual blood to nourish her, with the entire process lasting for 5 years. But what did they all do? Abolish his cultivation, dissect his flesh and blood, and take away his spiritual body. Such sincerity, in exchange for such treatment. Thinking of this, Chen Chi's eyes were all crimson, and his entire face appeared extremely ferocious with grief and anger. Do you really have a heart? Faced with Chen Chi's questioning, Yun Chongshan remained silent and simply watched everything with indifference. Yun Qianwei sneered at the corner of her mouth, heart. Why treat you with care? You're just a dog we adopted. If it weren't for your spiritual blood nourishing my spiritual roots, do you think you could live to this day? Dad, do you think so? Yun Qianwei turned to Yun Chongshan and asked. To be precise, it's not even as good as a dog, Yun Chongshan said calmly, his gaze disdainful of Chen Chi. Ha ha ha. Such a person is not even as good as a dog. Chen Chi's mournful voice echoed in the prison cave. So that's their idea. It turns out that I have always held such a position in their hearts. He hates himself for not being able to see the true faces of these 2 people earlier, and hates himself for not having the opportunity to avenge his physical abuse. If there is an afterlife, he will definitely cut this dog father-daughter pair with his hands. Yun Qianwei was very satisfied with Chen Chi's angry and melancholic expression. The next moment, Yun Qianwei stepped forward and spoke softly, I'll tell you another secret because you've given us so much. Do you know who killed your parents? What do you want to say? Chen Chi's angry expression suddenly changed, my father killed it for the purpose of your spiritual body. Who would say you were born with a spiritual body? In order to obtain it, my father planned for 10 years, a full 10 years. And you, calling your father's murderer your father for 10 years, are you stupid or not? Chen Chi was struck by lightning, and the truth turned out to be this. When his parents were surrounded and killed by a group of people in black, the 2 siblings were rescued by Yun Chongshan when they had no way out. This is also why he has always been grateful to Yun Chongshan. But he never expected that behind all of this, Yun Chongshan was manipulating it. Kill his parents and take away his spiritual body. This hatred and hatred are irreconcilable. Chen Chi, who had already been silent and resigned, could no longer suppress the anger in his chest. He pulled on the shackles and shouted ferociously, "Old dog, you deserve to die." Yun Qianwei felt great satisfaction in her heart when she saw Chen Chi like this. At this point, Yun Qianwei said softly again, "Do you know where I got this soul-snatching secret technique from? I bought it with your sister's life." Chen Chi suddenly looked up, emitting a fierce aura that had never been before, and the temperature of the space plummeted. "Are you still foolishly thinking that your sister has been taken as an apprentice by the strong? Haha, that's just a lie we fabricated. Exchange your sister's life for a secret technique, and then use it on you. Does this count as your sister digging your heart? You all deserve to die, all deserve to die," Chen Chi growled ferociously. 5 years ago, when he returned from competing for the spirit mine for Qingyun Academy, he found that his sister was missing. According to Yun Chongshan, he was taken away as an apprentice by a top-notch expert. Although the situation was a bit strange, with his strength at the time, he was completely helpless and unable to investigate. In addition, he had great trust in Yun Chongshan, so he ultimately chose to believe. But Chen Chi never expected that his sister was not taken away, but sold by Yun Chongshan. At the thought that his sister may be suffering from inhumane suffering now, or she may no longer be there, Chen Chi's anger surged into the sky. Bang, bang. Chen Chi tried desperately to pull the rivet forward, but couldn't move the rivet at all. The prison cave only echoed with the sound of interlocking chains and the sound of dripping blood. That's enough. Yun Chongshan drank coldly and looked at Chen Chi, who was about to crack his teeth. He spoke indifferently, "Your family's lowly things can be used by us. It's a blessing that you have cultivated for 10 lifetimes. Don't be disrespectful. Old dog, as long as one day I don't die, I will kill you," Chen Chi roared fiercely. "Hee, it's up to you." Yun Chongshan sneered, not even taking Chen Chi's harsh words into consideration. He is the elder of Qingyun Academy, and his cultivation and status are no different from Chen Chi, a small disciple passed down personally. Not to mention that Chen Chi is now a useless person, even if he is still the genius of the past, he cannot be killed. "Dad, I think we'll just settle this little bastard," Yun Qianwei said coldly. "Let's leave him for Xiaoyi. He even dreamed of killing this little bastard, which happened to help him get rid of his inner demons," Yun Chongshan said indifferently. "Cluck, too," Yun Qianwei chuckled with a hint of sadness. "You go back and merge the spiritual source first, so as not to have many dreams at night." Yun Chongshan doted and touched Yun Qianwei's head. "Okay, I'll listen to my dad." Yun Qianwei nodded quickly, as she couldn't wait to acquire spiritual abilities. You should know that cultivators in the divine martial continent use spiritual roots as their foundation to gain cultivation qualifications through enlightenment. If having a spiritual root is the foundation for becoming a practitioner, then a practitioner who awakens their spiritual body is a genius among them. And the innate spiritual body is the ultimate among spiritual bodies. This is also why Yun Chongshan spared no effort in planning for 10 years for his innate spiritual body. As she was about to leave the prison gate, Yun Qianwei suddenly turned back and looked at Chen Chi mockingly, "What's the use of awakening your spiritual body? In the end, it's not just making a wedding dress for me. The value of a person lies in having self-awareness. Don't expect to have something that doesn't match, otherwise you will end up with a situation where life is worse than death." After speaking, the two of them left without looking back, leaving only Yun Qianwei's mocking laughter echoing. "I hate it, I hate it." As Chen Chi watched the two of them leave, he frantically tugged at the shackles, letting the blood and water on his body shake off. "Do you want to restore your strength? Do you want to seek revenge with your own hands? As long as you want, I can help you achieve all of this." Suddenly, an indifferent female voice rang in Chen Chi's ears. "How could it be that I don't want to?" Chen Chi instinctively roared. Chen Chi's crimson pupils suddenly opened, and he saw a crimson light spot shooting towards him across multiple spaces. "Then come in." In an instant, Chen Chi felt his soul being pulled into a time and space tunnel by a terrifying force. Chapter 2. Immortal Prison Map, Dropping Blood Pressure for 10,000 Clans. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. By the time Chen Chi regained his senses, he had already entered an unknown world. Everywhere my gaze reaches is crimson, like a purgatory on earth. A peerless and powerful person pierced through the air with a single shot, with the intent of the shot soaring into the sky. A hole was pierced through the heavens and earth, and the afterglow pierced through eternity. On the other side, there is an ancient mythical beast with a sky above its head and feet on the earth, roaring and shattering the heavens and earth. The screen continues to shift, and 7 peerless powerhouses lead countless similar warriors to fight until the 9th day, turning their hands to unleash the divine power of destruction. Finally, one side of the world was shattered into 9 small worlds, which then turned into fragments scattered in the unknown world. Chen Chi was the first to witness such unparalleled power, which could easily destroy the heavens and earth, shatter vast territories. At this moment, the environment changed again, and when Chen Chi regained his senses, he found himself in a mysterious space. There is a stone tablet at the entrance that emits a strange aura, with 5 big characters written on it. The Immortal Prison Map of Zhenshi. Zhenshi Immortal Prison Map. Chen Chi took a deep breath and walked into the entrance, where he saw 9 towering towers that connected the sky and the earth. The tower is adorned with various terrifying runes, and the body of the tower is also wrapped in a huge chain. Upon closer inspection, it can be seen that there is a gap at the entrance of the 9 pagodas, from which a faint sense of terror can be felt leaking out. This place is called the Zhenshi Immortal Prison Map, and the picture you just saw is just a microcosm of its history. Is it just a microcosm of history, and what should be the grandeur of the heyday of this town world Immortal Prison Map? Chen Chi couldn't help but marvel at it. I dare to ask the senior's name. Just now, the senior said that he can help me restore my cultivation, is it true? For a moment, Chen Chi put aside her reverie and turned to a deep voice. I, Xian Joyo, never speak falsely. Please help me repair my spiritual orifice, Master Xian. Chen Chi bowed and bowed his head, his attitude extremely sincere. Repairing spiritual orifices is simple, but the repaired items will only be greatly discounted. I happen to have a secret technique that allows you to reopen your spiritual orifice and reshape your supreme foundation. Compared to it, the spiritual body and blood vessels are no better. But this secret technique is extremely dangerous, failure means death. To this day, there are less than 5 successful people, and there is none of them who have reached the extreme. You can choose between these 2 methods. Is it just that the spiritual bloodline is not more than air? Hao Sheng is domineering. If I give up, what will I take as revenge and what will I take to kill Yun Qianwei who has taken away my spiritual body? After a brief silence, Chen Chi decisively said, I want to try reopening my spiritual orifice, even if I have to sacrifice my life for it. Please help me, senior. Xian Joyo is very satisfied with Chen Chi's madness. With this kind of qualification, this road can go far. Then I'll give you a helping hand, Xian Joyo pointed out, and a light fell into Chen Chi's mind. The great method of anti-immortal theft of orifices. 1 orifices are ordinary, 2 orifices are heavenly, 3 orifices are divine, 4 orifices are immortal, and 5 orifices can go against the heavens. After going through the content, Chen Chi realized how incredible this secret technique was. Ordinary people can only open 1 orifices, but those who practice this secret technique can open 5 orifices. Each additional orifices can reshape the body, blending the essence of heaven and earth from one's own body. When the 5 orifices are opened, heaven and earth are united, and all things return to their beginning. Drops of blood can suppress thousands of tribes, and a single thought can subdue sentient beings. Follow my command to operate the technique, first dispel the original shattered spiritual orifice, and then reopen it. There is only one chance, you must hold back. Okay. Chen Chi dared not delay and quickly followed the instructions of Xian Jiuyo to operate the martial arts. I saw the residual spiritual power of the spiritual meridian, driven by the cultivation method, transform into a spiritual flow and flow into the shattered spiritual orifices, gradually assimilating the remaining fragments of the spiritual orifices. In an instant, an indescribable pain struck. Chen Chi gritted his gums tightly, his teeth constantly making a crisp clicking sound. As time passed, Chen Chi's face was completely twisted with pain. Immediately enlighten. Okay. Chen Chi dared not neglect and once again endured the intense pain to practice his martial arts. The new round of pain made Chen Chi's whole body start to twitch. If he hadn't kept a trace of reason in his heart, he would have had the urge to grab the flesh from his body and scratch the bones. Time passed by bit, and Chen Chi kept enduring. His spiritual energy slowly gathered, and the reopened spiritual orifice slowly opened. The spiritual orifice, the size of a grain of rice, expands at a speed visible to the naked eye. At this moment, heaven and earth suddenly changed, and various visions rose up. A golden rain poured down, enveloping Chen Chi in one fell swoop. Chen Chi's flesh and blood began to recombine under the nourishment of Tianlin, and the missing spiritual blood was slowly reborn, revealing a mysterious rune flowing in the blood. Everything is changing unconsciously. Oh, really succeeded. This was Xian Jiuyo's first time losing his composure. Since that's the case, let me give you another helping hand. Xian Jiuyo waved his hand and a golden light cluster containing a killing aura shot into Chen Chi's spiritual orifice. During the shooting, there was a white divine tiger within the visible light cluster, which transformed into a killing spear and pierced through the void. Chen Chi's face changed as he noticed a foreign object appearing in his spiritual orifice. Don't worry, this is all the creation I have given you. Immediately turn it into your own spiritual foundation. Okay. Chen Chi dared not hesitate at all, using his martial arts. The white tiger killing spear in his spiritual orifice had no resistance and was quickly recaptured. 3 days later. Chen Chi completely laid his spiritual foundation, and the spiritual source of spiritual objects also instantly fed back to Chen Chi. Spiritual beings seize the creation of heaven and earth, and all things are beyond reach. With the feedback from the spiritual source, Chen Chi's cultivation gradually recovered. Turn the spiritual realm. Second transformation of the spiritual realm. 3 transformations of Lingxiao realm. The momentum of the restoration of the realm did not stop until the 6-fold casting of the physical realm. The cultivation realm of Xinwu continent is divided into 9 levels. Lingxiao realm, Zhudi realm, Huayu realm, Dengwang realm, Huangting realm, Shengyin realm, Emperor's throne realm, Xinjie realm, and Shirshan realm. Half a day later, Chen Chi woke up again, his whole body trembling, and the rosy glow filled the sky with flowing patterns. At this moment, he could clearly feel the changes in his body, a mysterious feeling that even a person with a spiritual body had never experienced. This is the first time reshaping the body. What would happen if reshaped 5 times? Chen Chi couldn't help but look forward to it. After putting aside his imagination, Chen Chi finally explored the spiritual foundation inside his spiritual orifice. Dun saw a white tiger crawling among them, with a terrifying gun-air storm brewing on its sides. As his divine consciousness approached, he felt a sense of impending destruction. What is this? A terrifying conjecture appeared in Chen Chi's mind. Master Xian, this is not the legendary white tiger killing spear, one of the 5 great spirits of heaven and earth. Chen Chi took a deep breath. What are the 5 spiritual objects of heaven and earth? That is the secret treasure of heaven, which is coveted by the powerful in the Holy Seal realm and even the Imperial Throne realm. Throughout history, not only have people owned it, but news about it is also rare. You have some insight. Thank you very much for the gift from the senior, this kind young man will never forget. Chen Chi bowed solemnly. This situation is bigger than the sky. This spiritual creature is the main killer and has the strongest attack power among the 5 great spiritual creatures. I have placed 9 seals on it, and it will be up to you to break through each seal in the future. The strength of this spiritual creature is not 1/1,000,000th of its peak, and if you use it well, it is enough for you to remain unbeaten in the same realm. Of course, you will only truly possess it when you truly break through the 9 seals. Young man, always remember the teachings of your predecessors, Chen Chi said solemnly. Alright, now it's time to tell you about these 9 pagodas, said Xian Jiuyo with a slightly solemn tone. Chen Chi knew that the main topic was coming, so he couldn't help but put away his thoughts. These 9 pagodas are called Zhenshi Pagoda, and are the foundation of the Zhenshi Prison Immortal Map. They each suppress a small world. But the world fragments on the tower have already been knocked down, and it is estimated that in no time, these 9 towers will be shattered due to the inability to withstand the counterattack of the small world. Once the tower breaks, not only will you die, but I will also die. So now, besides becoming stronger through cultivation, you also need to search for 9 world fragments. Of course, every time you find a fragment, you will receive a piece of creation that is beyond your imagination. 1 piece of creation is enough for you to dominate the world. I don't care if you're going for fate or to save your life, you must do your best to find the fragments, understand? Chen Chi could hear the heaviness of Xian Jiuyo's voice and solemnly said, Master Xian, I swear here that I will do my best to find him. But I don't know what method to guide me. The only way is through the induction of the Immortal Prison Map. Once the Immortal Prison Map detects it, you only need to do everything in your power to obtain it. I will definitely do my best to seize it then, Chen Chi said in a deep voice. The time flow here is 3 times faster than outside, so you can choose to familiarize yourself with the power of the White Tiger Killer Spear here. Understood. Chen Chi did not choose to go out immediately. 10 days had passed in a blink of an eye, and by this time Chen Chi had initially mastered the power of the killing gun. During this time, Chen Chi discovered that the power of the White Tiger Killing Spear was even more terrifying than he had imagined. If one day he could fully unleash his power, the level of terror would be unimaginable. Alright, that's all for today. Someone has come in outside, you go out first. Xian Jiuyo's voice suddenly sounded, interrupting Chen Chi's contemplation. Is someone here? Chen Chi's face suddenly turned cold. At this moment it was obvious that the person who came was not kind. I want to see who's looking for death. Chen Chi finished reading and voluntarily withdrew from the Immortal Prison Map. Chapter 3. Spine breaks through the sky, you can't take my life today. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Qin's senior brother, inside is the prison cave of death row inmate Chen Chi, you all wait next to me, I'll just go in alone. Okay, if you need anything, please call us. Qin Yi, the nephew and disciple of Yun Chongshan, is highly valued by Yun Chongshan. Qin Yi waved away the prison guard and walked into the prison cave alone, only to see Chen Chi lying on the stone frame. Seeing this, Qin Yi couldn't help but smile coldly at the corner of his mouth and stopped in front of Chen Chi. Chen Chi, I didn't expect you to have such a day. Do you know that the person I hate the most in my life is you? Speaking of this, Qin Yi's face turned grim and he said, You're a wild kid with no background, no father, no mother. Why did you get the favor of senior sister Zhao and become the first genius? Back then, I was just teasing a new female disciple. You even cut off my arm in front of all the disciples. If it weren't for my master's obstruction, would you still want to kill me? When it came to excitement, Qin Yi couldn't help but shout out. For so many years, there hasn't been a day when I didn't want to skin and bone you. Today, you can be considered as falling into my hands. When it came to this, Qin Yi's eyes flashed sharply. Today's torture starts with digging your heart. After speaking, Qin Yi raised his paws and cruelly grabbed Chen Chi's chest. Obviously, he was trying to catch Chen Chi's heart alive. Is that right? Chen Chi, you, who was lying down, lifted her head and a faint voice came from his mouth. You. Chen Chi met Chen Chi's cold and piercing gaze, and his hand movements abruptly came to an end. His entire body was covered in sweat and hair, and an inexplicable numbness unconsciously spread throughout his body. Not only can't you dig my heart, but you still have to leave your life for me today. Chen Chi suddenly broke free from the rivet and stood up, his thin and straight spine like a javelin, as if there was a momentum to pierce the sky. Bang bang. Chen Chi clenched his hands, and his domineering spiritual power spread through the long iron chain, with dense waves wandering on the surface of the chain. The next moment, only a bang was heard, and the domineering spiritual power exploded. The thick iron chains on the arms were blown into powder, and the entire prison cave was shaken uncontrollably. You're not. Golem. Chen Chi suddenly felt immense fear, his body icy cold, and his brain was a fragmented blank. Do you want to ask why I didn't waste? Chen Chi spoke calmly as he walked towards Chen Chi. Chen Chi's footsteps were not fast, but every step he took was like a heavy hammer hitting Chen Chi's heart. Dong dong dong, Chen Chi's heart was beating faster and faster, and his fear was also becoming stronger. The sudden suffocation left him gasping for breath. No, even if his cultivation is not abolished, his spiritual body is gone. Why am I still afraid of him? Chen Chi roared wildly in his heart. Killing spear. Chen Chi raised his hand, and the white tiger killing spear condensed in his palm. A golden spiritual spear emitted a killing aura, and a faint white tiger could be seen perched on top of the spiritual spear. At the moment when the white tiger killing spear appeared, the surrounding space suddenly became filled with murderous energy, and the sharp spear's rays were like the dazzling 9-day sun that caught people's attention. What kind of martial arts skills are you? No, you only have 6 levels of cultivation in the body realm. Chen Chi, while frightened, also noticed Chen Chi's momentary display of strength. It's enough to kill you. Chen Chi shot up and fired a shot. The gun, like lightning, roared with the sound of tearing air as it charged towards Chen Chi. Chen Chi's face changed wildly, and he never expected Chen Chi to take action immediately. But he is a 7-fold caste body realm, still afraid that Chen Chi won't succeed. In an instant, Chen Chi also showed signs of resistance, but Chen Chi did not give Chen Chi any opportunity to resist. He forcefully pierced his chest with a single shot. When the killing gun pierced through Chen Chi's chest, the killing force turned into a blade explosion, instantly blasting a hole in Chen Chi's chest. Master deceived me. He didn't have any. Chen Chi's gaze gradually dissipated. Bang! At this moment, the iron gate of the prison cave was suddenly pushed open, and the prison guard saw Chen Chi, who was dying without closing his eyes. In the next moment, he met Chen Chi's gaze and his eyes were filled with fear. He shouted in a panic, "We're dead, Chen Chi has been killed. Come on, come on, come on." In an instant, more than 10 prison guards also rushed over upon hearing the sound. The leader's name is Zhao Kuang, and he is also the only person who is infinitely close to the Huayu realm. He is also the warden of Yunchongshan, a private prison cave. Zhao Kuang saw Chen Chi, who was dying without closing his eyes, and his eyes suddenly burst out with an astonishing coldness, as if he was about to swallow Chen Chi alive. How dare you? Kill him for me. Although Chen Chi is not a powerful figure, he is the nephew of Yunchongshan. Now that Chen Chi is dead, what should he explain to Yunchongshan? The most important thing is Chen Chi, although I don't know why he suddenly regained his strength. But he must not leave this prison hole today, otherwise it will be his Zhao Kuang who is at the brink of disaster. Noisy. Chen Chi pulled out his killing gun, pulled out a stream of blood, and at the same time, he charged towards a group of prison guards with another shot. His unparalleled strength forced everyone to retreat step by step. Shoo! The killing gun sounded like a lightning bolt, piercing through the chest of 6 prison guards in one fell swoop. The terrifying impact brought 6 prison guards, and they were finally heavily nailed to the stone wall. With a loud roar, a huge hole exploded in the stone wall. Chen Chi did not stop harvesting and slaughtered all the prison guards who had surrounded him in one fell swoop. The entire process only occurred between the electric light and fire stones, with more than 10 corpses lying on the ground in all directions. How could it be? Zhao Kuang's angry expression suddenly changed, and Chen Chi's strength was no weaker than him. Do you have time to be stunned? Chen Chi's indifferent voice rang in Zhao Kuang's ears. When Zhao Kuang regained his senses, Chen Chi had already come to his side. Zhao Kuang's gaze was fixed on the killing gun in Chen Chi's hand, and the close-up feeling made him feel a chill all over. At this moment, the killing gun hanging above his head was swallowing a cold murderous breath, as if a shot could destroy his body and soul together. Death. Chen Chi stabbed heavily, and Zhao Kuang, after all, was not like Qin Yi. He counterattacked with a backhand blow. With a single collision, the knives and guns clashed, sparks splattered everywhere, and the killing gun burst out with a sharp spirit. Chen Chi remained calm at all. With a single thrust of the killing spear, a crescent arc formed, and the spiritual power of the spear tip erupted once again, hitting the blade with a heavy blow. You! The tremendous power shook Zhao Kuang's face greatly, and at the same time, Chen Chi's domineering spiritual power was transmitted into his hands with the blade, crushing his own spiritual power. Dong! Chen Chi's whole body trembled, his arms gathered strength, and he raised his life-killing gun and shot it down heavily again. The terrifying killing pressure turned towards Zhao Kuang, and Zhao Kuang's breath suddenly stopped. Ding-click-wipe. This time, Chen Chi's shot shattered Zhao Kuang's spiritual sword, and the tip of the gun penetrated Zhao Kuang's chest with an indestructible force. Puff! Zhao Kuang couldn't help but take a mouthful of blood, his eyes filled with not only shock but also endless admiration. Undoubtedly the first genius of Qingyun, even if his spiritual body is taken away and his cultivation is abolished, he can still be so powerful. Yun Chongshan, you may have really offended a demon this time. Chen Chi coldly dispersed the killing gun in his hand, and Zhao Kuang lay weakly on the ground. Are you ready to accept my anger, Yin Qianwei? Chen Chi walked straight towards Qingyun Academy. Chapter 4. Carrying a coffin and returning, this coffin buries only dog father and daughter. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. In front of the mountain gate of Qingyun Academy. Is this? A group of Qingyun disciples stared blankly at Chen Chi, who had returned carrying the black coffin. At this moment, Chen Chi was dressed in blood clothes, with a disheveled hair and a murderous aura all over her body, completely appearing as if strangers should not approach. What happened, senior brother Chen? What is this for? Isn't that the direction of the Grand Elder's mansion? Let's go take a look, it feels like something big is going on. Hurry up and notify the other elders. Okay, let's go now. At the residence of the Grand Elder. How about it, has the fusion been successful? Yun Chongshan quickly asked Yun Qianwei. Yun Qianwei did not answer, but directly operated her spiritual body. A crystal-clear light appeared at the center of her eyebrows, and 9 spiritual cyclone visions rose above her head. Okay. Yun Chongshan exclaimed excitedly, okay. Finally succeeded, his years of calculations were not in vain. Starting from today, Qingyun's first day is with me, Yun Qianwei. Speaking of this, Yun Qianwei's eyes were filled with arrogance. Next, not only will I step on the 5 personal biographies one by one, but I will also make the entire country of Jiang spread my reputation as Yun Qianwei. My daughter of Yun Chongshan should be like this, Yun Chongshan laughed. By the way, Dad, has that little bastard died? Yun Qianwei suddenly sneered. If Xiaoyi takes action, that bastard may not be as good as dead. Cluck, cluck. Yun Qianwei chuckled with a hint of sadness. Dong. At this moment, a black coffin fell from the sky and landed heavily in front of the hall, with a loud noise echoing throughout the entire mansion. "Daddy, is this?" Yun Qianwei's smile abruptly stopped. Yun Chongshan's face turned cold and he rushed straight towards the hall. The servants of the mansion immediately rushed out upon hearing the sound. Yun Chongshan arrived in response, and when he saw the coffin lying upright in the center of the hall, his lungs exploded. "Who did it? Get out of here," he said. Bang. Suddenly, the front door of the mansion was blown up by a force, and it fell to the ground, rolling up countless dust particles. A figure stepped on the door with one foot, and countless dust kicked away, revealing Chen Chi's black hair in a violent and murderous manner. Chen Chi. When he saw Chen Chi's appearance clearly, Yun Chongshan's eyes burst out with a cold glare that devoured people. How could this little bastard not have died? Didn't Xiaoyi go kill him? Is it the bad premonition made his face darken, and anger suddenly surged into his chest? "Old dog, I didn't expect to die." Chen Chi's voice was as cold as iron, like the sound of the underworld coming from Joyo. "Old dog. Are you sure you're not your adoptive father?" The onlookers seemed to smell something. The relationship between Chen Chi and Yun Chongshan is unknown to everyone in the entire college. But now the two of them are facing each other in a short battle, which is not even worth thinking about. "Damn it, little bastard." A cold killing intent surged in Yun Chongshan's eyes. "Brush." Chen Chi sucked with his bare hand and lifted the coffin with one hand, then plunged heavily into the ground, causing the ground to instantly collapse and crack. "Yun Qianwei, this underworld coffin has come to bury you." In the next moment, Chen Chi's eyes burst into a cold and murderous aura. "Today is your deadline." Yun Qianwei's eyes showed a cold murderous intent, as she had never experienced such great humiliation before. Provoking the elder openly and speaking wildly, "It's difficult to prove my Qingyun iron law without killing you." Yun Chongshan suddenly made a move, and a killing intent appeared in his palm. The terrifying palm energy, with an unparalleled pressure, fell towards Chen Chi. Obviously, he wanted to take the opportunity and directly kill Chen Chi. "Old dog, I'm afraid you can't do it." Chen Chi didn't retreat but instead advanced, his killing spear quickly condensed in his palm, and a terrifying spiritual storm stirred his long hair. "Stop it." At this moment, two figures suddenly appeared, blocking in front of each other. "Get out of the way." Yun Chongshan's killing intent persisted and he shouted coldly towards the punishment elder in front of him. Lin En ignored Yun Chongshan's anger and said indifferently, "Even if you want to execute your disciples, it must be my punishment hall. I advise you not to make mistakes. This matter has nothing to do with you, move away from me." Yun Chongshan continued to drink softly, obviously not intending to let Chen Chi go. Destroying his mansion, killing his nephew, and insulting his daughter are all capital offenses. Chen Chi must die today. The deans of the three major colleges are meeting, can you afford to make a joke? Lin's voice was already filled with anger. Qingyun College is one of the three major colleges in Jiangua. Upon hearing this, Yun Chongshan's expression became erratic, with anger and unwillingness flashing in his eyes. However, he ultimately chose to withdraw his palm power. Today is indeed a meeting between the deans of the three major colleges to discuss the college competition in 3 months. As a senior elder, he is not suitable for a big fight. Lin En turned his head and stared coldly at Chen Chi, as a disciple passed down personally. "Don't you know that openly provoking the elder is a capital offense?" "Capital offense. Ha ha ha." Chen Chi suddenly pulled open his blood clothes, revealing blood scars all over his body, especially the holes in his pipa bone and heart that were even more shocking. This. The faces of the children and even the elders suddenly changed. What a cruel means it was to create scars. "Damn it, what are you trying to do?" Yun Chongshan's eyes once again unleashed an astonishing killing intent. This old dog, in order to give his daughter a spiritual body, has ruined my cultivation, cut off my flesh and blood, and taken away my spiritual body. Suddenly, Chen Chi stepped forward and pointed to the blood scar on his body, saying, "What kind of crime is this, Mr. Lin, for such inhumane behavior?" Chen Chi's last sentence was more like questioning. The voice of indignation fell into the ears of everyone, like thunder from 10 directions, shaking their eardrums. Everyone turned their heads and saw that Yun Chongshan and Yun Qianwei's faces had all changed. Such a cruel and inhumane thing, thank you for being able to do it. How dare you speak nonsense? Do you know where this place is? Yun Chongshan shouted angrily at Chen Chi. This is all ironclad evidence, how can you deny it? Chen Chi shouted coldly. This matter needs further investigation, but the college will give you an explanation. It's not allowed to cause any further trouble until today. After a moment of silence, Lin still adopted his usual method of procrastinating. This matter is really difficult to handle. One person is the elder of the college, and the other is the first genius of the college. Even though the current situation is unclear, he dare not make hasty decisions. This matter can only be decided by the dean. Yun Chongshan gave a cold smile on the side, as if mocking Chen Chi's immaturity. His identity as Yun Chongshan, your identity as Chen Chi, and your desire to use the academy to sanction him is simply ridiculous. Upon hearing Lin En's decision, Chen Chi couldn't help but laugh at himself. Indeed, relying on others is better than relying on oneself. But fortunately, his trip was just to use the power of the academy to restrain Yun Chongshan and achieve the goal of killing Yun Qianwei. Then he pointed a shot at Yun Qianwei, and the tip of the gun was filled with an astonishing murderous aura. Life and death battle, Yun Qianwei, how dare you? I'll go, this is really a never-ending journey. The disciples of Qingyun couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Since you want to seek death, then I will fulfill you. Yun Qianwei's cold voice came out. She slowly approached Chen Chi, her arrogant expression fading onto him, as if looking at an ant. Just now I said today is a special day. What are you all doing? Get out of here, everyone, Lin En shouted coldly. The justice that the college cannot provide, then I Chen Chi will give it myself. Is this all too much? Chen Chi looked directly at Lin En, his voice echoing with unwillingness and resentment. You. Lin En's words ended, unable to hold back a word. Chen Chi no longer cared about Lin En's reaction. With a suction, he grabbed the coffin in his hand and walked towards the life and death platform with one hand. Elder Lin, life and death battles between disciples are common, so you might as well make a big deal out of it, Yun Chongshan said in a low voice. If something goes wrong, can you afford it? Lin En could see that Yun Chongshan wanted to take this opportunity to eradicate the root cause. What if I take on this matter? Yun Chongshan snorted coldly. It's best to pray that you can afford it, Lin shook his sleeves and left. How are you confident? Yun Chongshan said in a deep voice. If it were his peak strength, I would still be a bit cautious. Now he is vulnerable to a single blow. After speaking, Yun Qianwei smiled faintly and said, just this time, let's take him, the original owner of the spiritual body, to test the power of the spiritual body. Anyway, we must kill that bastard this time, Yun Chongshan said coldly. Don't worry, Dad. He can't leave the stage of life and death today. As soon as Yun Qianwei thought of the underworld coffin that Chen Chi was carrying, her killing intent towards Chen Chi became even stronger. Fortunately, if he didn't escape, he would dare to hold up the grave coffin and provoke him. This alone would be enough for Chen Chi to die 100 times. Chapter 5. The taste of kneeling, is it good or not, killing people with a gun? You are listening at novelfull.audio. At the stage of life and death, there are more and more elders and disciples watching. Their gaze fell on Chen Chi and Yun Qianwei. Life and death battles are not common in colleges. But there is a rule, which is not to allow external forces to interfere until life and death are determined. Who do you think will win? Although I can't stand Yun Qianwei's behavior, Chen Chi, who has lost her spiritual body, may not necessarily be Yun Qianwei's opponent. Not necessarily, that's a certain thing, right? Didn't you feel that Chen Chi's cultivation level is only six-fold casting body realm? If you don't say it, I really haven't noticed. For a moment, the disciples on the audience began to discuss one after another. But more people are not optimistic about Chen Chi, believing that he has been blinded by anger and that the life and death battle with Yun Qianwei is just seeking death. Lin looked at the two and sighed, are we really going to this point? Never give up until you die, Chen Chi said word by word. Everyone nearby can feel the murderous aura emanating from Chen Chi at this moment. Yun Qianwei snorted coldly, if someone wants to seek death, I don't have any reason to fail. Since that's the case, let's officially start the life and death battle. Lin En's hand suddenly fell and he dodged to the side, leaving room for Chen Chi and the others to fight. I couldn't kill you last time, I don't mind killing you again. Noisy. Chen Chi suddenly rose up, his spiritual energy surging around him, bringing a wave of wind and waves in place, and in an instant came to Yun Qianwei's side. Accumulate your fist and shoot it down. A series of actions were completed between lightning and flint. Yun Qianwei's voice suddenly stopped and she quickly slapped Chen Chi's fist. As Chen Chi's fist collided with his palm, he raised the corner of his mouth and suddenly unleashed a golden killing force on his fist. Yun Qianwei's face changed as she noticed that her spiritual power in her palm was being crushed and void. The fierce attack power penetrated her palm and exploded on his arm. Is this where I take my spiritual body? Garbage. Chen Chi snorted coldly and, taking advantage of Yun Qianwei's daze, struck her head with a whip. The invisible sense of oppression once again made Yun Qianwei's face change wildly. She suddenly turned her head to one side and could barely dodge, but her leg whip suddenly landed on her shoulder. Bang! I saw Yun Qianwei's whole body weighed down, with terrifying spiritual power falling towards her. With a thud, Yun Qianwei knelt down on the life and death platform, and it also cracked open in an instant. Puzzy. Yun Qianwei couldn't help but spit out a mouthful of blood, and at the same time, she could also notice that her arm was bloody and her clothes had exploded. How could this be possible? Yun Chongshan's face suddenly changed on stage, and his daughter was stunned. Can one still have such strength in the realm of falling? Lin En was also surprised by Chen Chi for a moment. No wonder he dares to kill the elder's mansion alone, no wonder he dares to fight a life and death battle with Yun Qianwei. It's really uncertain who will die today. Damn it. Who the hell would have thought? You tell me this is called seeking death, looking for your sister. Seize people's spiritual bodies, useless people's cultivation, that's it. Playing with me. Don't worry, Yun Qianwei's spiritual power hasn't been fully exerted yet. Chen Chi's defeat to Yun Qianwei instantly caused the scene to explode. Does it feel good to kneel down? Chen Chi's cold voice rang in Yun Qianwei's ears. How does it feel to break your hand? Chen Chi's gaze shifted to his bloody right hand, and his questioning voice intensified once again. But these pains are not even 1,000th of what you have given me. Even if I crush you to ashes, I cannot vent my immense hatred. As soon as he finished speaking, Chen Chi lifted his leg and whipped it heavily again. Pwai! Yun Qianwei spewed out a mouthful of blood again. The people on site were all silent upon hearing this, but thinking of Chen Chi's recent injury, they could understand Chen Chi's immense hatred. Ah! Yun Qianwei let out a low roar of humiliation, summoning all her spiritual strength to resist Chen Chi's oppression. Because Chen Chi's leg was pressing on his shoulder at this moment, he couldn't stand up at all. Xiaowei, what are you doing? Do you think losing someone is not enough? Give me your true strength. Yun Chongshan finally couldn't help but stand up and shouted in a deep voice. If Yun Qianwei fails to kill Chen Chi, the power he seeks at all costs would be a joke. At this moment, he vaguely regretted leaving this little bastard to Qin Yi. He should have killed him on the spot. This is you looking for death on your own. Yun Qianwei mustered up her anger and broke free from Chen Chi's oppression. She was enveloped in spiritual power, and a terrifying aura rushed out from above her head. The clouds in mid-air were washed away, and the illusion of 9 spiritual whirlpools surged layer by layer. For a moment, Yun Qianwei's breath climbed step by step until she was 1 step away from the Huayu realm before stopping. At this moment, Yun Qianwei was enveloped in a light white spiritual energy, and both her temperament and breath had changed. Although Yun Qianwei was unable to break through the Huayu realm at once, she is much stronger than cultivators in the same realm. I didn't originally want to use my spiritual body, you forced me to die. Yun Qianwei brushed over to Chen Chi's side. Breaking fist. In the blink of an eye, Yun Qianwei completed the accumulation of a mid-level martial arts skill, with 9 spiritual whirlpools rapidly spinning and all her spiritual power pouring out in one punch. In the next moment, Yun Qianwei made a move and punched Chen Chi hard, causing a series of bombing sounds to be heard in the surrounding air. With the blessing of spiritual power, the mid-level breaking fist faintly unleashes the power of the top grade. Then I'll try how strong your full strength is. Chen Chi did not advance but retreated, his feet staggered forward, punches overlapping each other, and remnants of punches fell from the air. In the overlapping shadows of the fist, it can be seen that the golden killing power has transformed into a hidden and unextinguished gun aura covering the surface of the fist. Boom! The two collided fiercely, and in the instant of their fists colliding, their spiritual power exploded and they launched a counterattack. Da-da-da! Yun Qianwei flew backwards and retreated until she stopped by the platform of life and death, and the numbness in her hands spread throughout her body. Damn it, how could this be? Yun Qianwei's face was extremely ugly as she shook her numb hand. Her spiritual body cannot be broken even by his father Yun Chongshan for a moment. But Chen Chi broke in an instant, which he couldn't believe. On the other hand, Chen Chi did not take a step back and stood in place, his mouth curling up with a hint of mockery. Brush. Yun Chongshan stood up from his seat again like a conditioned reflex, his eyes filled with disbelief and fear. Defeated, his daughter surprisingly failed again. Who can tell him exactly why this is? Even though that little bastard is invincible in the same level with his spiritual body, how could he fall so easily into her daughter's hands? The people on site were also momentarily stunned. Yun Qianwei used the power of her spiritual body, how could she still not defeat Chen Chi? This is completely beyond their imagination. The power that was seized by all means, is that all? That old dog's face makes you puff up. Chen Chi sneered coldly at Yun Qianwei. Chen Chi's mockery pierced into Yun Qianwei's heart, and the boundless humiliation instantly engulfed her. Shut up, Yun Qianwei roared ferociously. Integrating spiritual body power is her proudest thing, and now she can't even beat a useless Chen Chi. What's the use of this spiritual body? What's the use? It's just a joke that even trash like you should threaten to kill me. After finishing his sentence, Chen Chi Yu took out his refined steel gun again from the picture of the prison immortal. At the moment of holding the gun, Chen Chi's temperament changed. Lingli, who had been hiding for a long time, had the momentum of piercing the sky with a shot at this moment. My shot is killing, are you ready to suffer to death? Chen Chi looked up and a fierce killing intent flashed in his eyes. Killing with a gun. It's not arrogant. Everyone gasped for breath upon hearing this. Chapter 6. Angry Dragon's instant killing spear, seems like a demon coming to earth. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Damn it, how could I feel so scared? Yun Qianwei gritted her teeth hard and growled in her heart. She is not a fool, as can be seen from the match just now that Chen Chi's strength is not inferior to hers. Now Chen Chi suddenly assumed such a posture, causing an inexplicable fear to grow in her heart. Do you know you're scared now? But it's too late, you'll die today. Chen Chi snorted coldly and pointed a shot at Yun Qianwei. I really don't think I can beat you, Yun Qianwei roared fiercely. At this moment, Yun Qianwei doesn't have the same aloof look as before, she's just a gambler who's losing quickly. Angry Dragon Instant Kill Spear. Chen Chi didn't talk nonsense to Yun Qianwei at all. With a single shot, the shadow of the gun was like a dream, and the trace couldn't be seen clearly. The people at the scene only saw a remnant, with a sharp and substantial killing intent. You. Yun Qianwei's face changed as she felt the killing intent from all directions. She couldn't escape this shot. Little bastard, dare you. Yun Chongshan roared fiercely and directly took action with anger, knowing that his daughter would die with this shot. In an instant, Yun Chongshan rushed out and angrily killed Chen Chi, while slapping him with one palm. I knew you old dog didn't follow the rules. Chen Chi's speed was faster than Yun Chongshan's, and he shot Yun Qianwei's forehead with one shot. Old dog, try moving again. Believe it or not, I shot her dog head with one shot. Yun Chongshan's movements came to a sudden halt, staring intently at Chen Chi with a murderous intent in his eyes. And the palm he clapped was already hanging above Chen Chi's head, and it fell only in his moment of thought. Upon seeing this scene, Lin also secretly dissipated his spiritual power and did not continue to intervene. Old dog, do you really want her to die? Chen Chi sneered and thrust his spear forward. Dida. The long spear kept advancing and penetrated Yun Qianwei's skin, causing blood and water to slide down her face. Dad, save me, I don't want to die. Feeling the piercing pain in her eyebrows, Yun Qianwei suddenly screamed in fear. Seeing his daughter's appearance, Yun Chongshan finally dissipated his palm power. Because he dare not gamble. If his daughter dies, even killing Chen Chi 10,000 times will be of no use. Feeling the spear stop, Yun Qianwei was so scared that she knelt down again, her forehead covered in beads of sweat. If Chen Chi takes another shot, her head will explode. In the face of death, even gods and ghosts will fear. Chen Chi, you're too brave, right? The disciple on sight instinctively swallowed a mouthful of saliva. You should know that if Yun Chongshan doesn't care about Yun Qianwei's life or death, then with this palm, if Chen Chi doesn't die, he will have no life. Don't think about moving, immediately remove the spiritual power from me. Chen Chi drank coldly. Feeling the icy killing intent emanating from the blade of the gun, Yun Qianwei dared not neglect and quickly followed suit. Old dog, you probably wouldn't have thought of this scene even if you were dead, Chen Chi turned his head and said coldly to Yun Chongshan. Yun Chongshan gritted his teeth and took a deep breath, Xiao Qi, we were wrong before, but Xiao Wei is ultimately your sister. Please let her go. Let her go. Ha ha ha. After the laughter stopped, Chen Chi's eyes showed a murderous intent. When you killed my parents, did you ever think of letting them go? Have you ever thought of letting my sister go when you sold her? Have you ever thought of letting me go when you took my spiritual body? Speaking of this, Chen Chi's voice suddenly rose up. Now tell me to let go, I'll go to your uncle's place. Wow, that's how it turns out. Oh my goodness, this Yunchong mountain isn't really human, is it? No wonder Chen Chi did such a great job. If I were you, I would also kill them. Yun Chongshan was asked back and swallowed by Chen Chi, unable to say a word, and could only look at him with a stern expression. The elders finally understood the truth of the matter and sat silently in their seats. Today, I will first use this dog thing to pay tribute to my parents, and soon it will be your turn, this old dog. Chen Chi unleashed an astonishing killing intent in his eyes and shot heavily. Yun Qianwei was frightened and shouted in terror, Dad, save me. At the same time, Lin En stood in front of Yun Chongshan and said, we cannot intervene in the battle of life and death. Son of a bitch, stop it for me. Yun Chongshan shouted in terror. Never before has he been so powerless. With Lin's obstruction, he couldn't rescue at all. As the tip of the gun was about to pierce Yun Qianwei's eyebrows, Chen Chi noticed a powerful force blocking the long spear, unable to make any further progress. Who? Chen Chi's cold expression suddenly froze. This matter ends here. A faint voice rang out, and a middle-aged man in white clothes drifted down from mid-air. This person is the dean of Qingyun College, Mu Qingxiu. He also came with Jiang Taishu, the dean of Jianghuang College, and Qin Changtian, the dean of Xuantian College. In fact, they have been here for a long time. When Chen Chi was about to kill Yun Qianwei, Mu Qingxiu couldn't help but take action. Dean, it's the dean here, the disciples on site shouted softly. Yun Qianwei realized that she was not dead yet, and she suddenly vented her anger. She collapsed to the ground, sucking heavily in the air. This time she can be considered to have walked through the gates of hell, and this feeling is too hopeless. Dean, this dog. Halfway through Yun Chongshan's words, Mu Qingxiu stopped him with a cold gaze. They killed my parents and took away my spiritual body. This hatred is greater than heaven. Do you call me to stop here? Even if you are the dean, it is impossible. Chen Chi shouted angrily. He calculated everything accurately. Unexpectedly, in the end, Mu Qingxiu, who was the head of the prestigious academy, came out to stop him. And it's still in front of the deans of the other two colleges. That's all for now. Mu Qingxiu's voice was neither urgent nor slow, but it exuded an unquestionable aura. I said, it's impossible. Faced with Chen Chi's refusal, Mu Qingxiu's eyes gradually turned cold and he said, be reckless. In an instant, a terrifying aura fell towards Chen Chi, and an unparalleled pressure bent his spine and back. But the next moment, Chen Chi stood up straight again, under the pressure of Mu Qingxiu, and did not retreat in the face of Mu Qingxiu's cold gaze. Now Mu Qingxiu's expression completely cooled down. Master Xian, can you lend me your strength? I want to kill Yun Qianwei, Chen Chi said fiercely. My power is currently unable to cross the Immortal Prison Map attack, and it is even more impossible to bestow it on you. Why? Your body is too weak to bear. Damn it. Chen Chi gritted his teeth unwillingly. Mu Qingxiu ignored Chen Chi's anger and grabbed Yun Qianwei from the air with one hand. Chen Chi realized that he couldn't stop Mu Qingxiu at all and could only watch as Yun Qianwei was captured. This matter ends here, this time it's not a discussion with you, it's an order. After throwing Yun Qianwei to Yun Chongshan, Mu Qingxiu coldly said. Because she fused my spiritual body. Chen Chi's voice at this moment appeared cold and hoarse. Mu Qingxiu stood tall, overlooking Chen Chi. Although Mu Qingxiu did not answer, his expression had already fully revealed his inner thoughts. Obviously, in the eyes of Mu Qingxiu, Chen Chi is just a hopeless waste. No matter how strong his strength is now, what can he do? Qingyun College needs talented individuals like Yun Qianwei, rather than fleeting waste like Chen Chi. If one must choose between the two, then the person must be Yun Qianwei rather than Chen Chi. As for how Yun Qianwei's power came about, he doesn't care at all. A group of Qingyun disciples looked at Chen Chi's gaze with pity. The world of cultivators is so cruel, sometimes you really have to admit it. If Chen Chi still had a spiritual body, then today's situation would be completely different. Unfortunately, there is no if. After a moment of silence, Mu Qingxiu spoke leisurely. As a disciple of Qingyun, you should have a broad perspective and not be blinded by some small grievances in front of you. Today's incident, we will not hold you accountable for any reason. If you commit another offense, we will handle it according to the court's rules. Let's call it a day and let it go. As a disciple of Qingyun, do you have a broader perspective? Small grievances. Mu Qingxiu's words ignited Chen Chi's anger. I'll go fuck you. Get up and drive me. In the next moment, Chen Chi exuded a terrifying aura all over his body, and the power of his spiritual orifice transformed into a spiritual storm that penetrated through his body. The fierce and unparalleled killing spear turned into a wind blade, instantly turning the life and death platform under his feet into a gravel field. I saw Chen Chi break free from Mu Qingxiu's suppression in one fell swoop, like a demon god walking out of the rolling smoke and dust. Mu Qing's eyelids twitched. He is already infinitely close to the realm of ascending the king, how could a small disciple of the casting realm break free from his suppression? Shoo! At the next moment, a cold light shot out of Chen Chi's hand and fiercely embedded itself on the stone wall in front of the viewing table. Disciple order. Everyone should see the incoming items clearly at the first time. Is this necessary? Hush. The disciples couldn't help but take a cold breath. From now on, I will no longer be a disciple of Qingyun. Chen Chi's cold roar echoed throughout the entire life and death stage. Chapter 7. One shot, one palm flip. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Jiang Taishu and Qin Changtian exchanged a glance, both of whom could see a mocking expression in each other's eyes. They didn't expect to see such a great play today either. Chen Chi's actions made Mu Qingxiu's face suddenly turn cold. Quit the college. Where do you place the college? Mu Qingxiu's cold voice reached Chen Chi's ear. For a moment, the atmosphere at the scene reached freezing point, and it was silent to the point of silence. Where did that college place me again? Chen Chi roared angrily. If Qingyun had a slight turn towards me today, even if it was just a little bit, I wouldn't have been so decisive, but what about you, do you have it? Do you have it? Chen Chi's questioning voice gradually intensified, and in the end, it became even more hysterical. Chen Chi, I know you have been wronged, but do you know what to face when quitting the college? Lin let out a sigh for this. He knew about this, but it was Yun Chongshan's father and daughter who were at fault. This is also why he just pushed the boat with the flow and allowed the life and death battle to proceed normally. But now that Mu Qingxiu has come out to stop it, this matter should be settled. You, Chen Chi, are still so stubborn and disregarding, which is really disrespectful. Besides, in the face of the future of the college, your little emotions like Chen Chi are really not very important. Isn't it just about passing through Elder's Pass? Today, I want to see if I died here or if I walked out with my head up and chest up, Chen Chi said angrily. Elder Pass is a rule of Qingyun Academy, and anyone who wants to withdraw from Qingyun must fight against an elder. If you don't die within 100 moves, you can safely exit, but if you die, it's your own fault. From ancient times to the present, no one has ever succeeded in Qingyun. The best outcome was to be abandoned and eventually locked up in the college's death row. Because there is a significant difference in strength between the elders and disciples. Not to mention 100 moves, even 10 moves are difficult to resist. You. Lin En's face suddenly turned ugly, thinking that Chen Chi was too disrespectful and didn't even understand the steps. Dean, since he is so stubborn, how about I guard the elder pass this time? Yun Chongshan stood out from the elder group. Mu Qingxiu glanced at Yun Chongshan before nodding. Thank you very much, Dean. Yun Chongshan bent down and lowered his head. Old dog, get out of here. Chen Chi was furious when he saw Yun Chongshan take the initiative to offer his services. Bold rebels, how can Qingyun allow you to be reckless? Yun Chongshan shouted loudly and jumped up from the audience stage, carrying a spirit feather on his back. He cut through the sky and slapped Chen Chi's spot. Killer gun. Chen Chi grabbed a spiritual long spear with one hand, and the golden spear light was like a 9-day sun. Old dog, you're going to die for me. Chen Chi's face turned grim, and he shot towards Yunzhong Mountain at lightning speed. The air was instantly torn apart, accompanied by a series of loud noises. A fierce shot hit the palm of Yun Chongshan, and two terrifying forces exploded, causing an explosive storm that would instantly engulf both of them. The terrifying aftermath repelled both of them simultaneously. A group of Qinglong disciples stared blankly at this scene. Is it the strength possessed by the casting realm to withstand a single blow from the Cloud Mountain and remain undefeated? It's too terrifying. You should know that Yuncheng Mountain is a 6 Huayu realm, with a significant difference between the two. Yuncheng Shan glanced at his bleeding palm, his face becoming increasingly ugly. Chen Chi wiped off the bloodstain from the corner of his mouth and said, "Old dog, how's it going? Can't you believe it? You must die today." Yuncheng Shan's eyes were filled with a murderous intent. This son must not be left behind, otherwise it will eventually become a major disaster. The spiritual power emanates from Yuncheng Shan's body, and his clothes move automatically when there is no wind. The spiritual power transforms into feathers, reaching a length of 6 zhang. The spiritual power of Hua Yu Jing cannot be compared to a cast mirror in terms of strength and quality. Chen Chi's expression was slightly condensed. Although he didn't want to admit it, the pressure from Yuncheng Shan was immense at this moment. As soon as Yuncheng Shan's spirit feather moved, he disappeared into the air. In the next moment, he appeared behind Chen Chi and with a flip of his hand, he slashed Chen Chi's neck. Ding! Chen Chi turned around and shot upwards, accurately hitting the blade with the tip of the gun. Yuncheng Shan hooked his mouth and saw a sudden burst of sword energy from his sword, crossing the tip of his gun and cutting towards Chen Chi's head. At the sight of Chen Chi, the killing gun condensed into a thought, and he grabbed it with his left hand and fiercely shot it towards the sword air. The gun was like lightning, and the roar continued for a long time. With a single blow, the sword's aura instantly dissipated. The two of them encountered countless moves in mid-air. But every move is extremely thrilling, and every encounter with Chen Chi can only narrowly avoid the attack of Yuncheng Shan. Do you think it's just that? Yuncheng Shan snorted coldly, his spirit feather fanned, and countless spiritual light spots shot down at Chen Chi. Damn it! Chen Chi's face changed dramatically and quickly retreated. But the spot of light was too fast, and it suddenly submerged him, causing a spiritual storm to explode on the ground. Alas! The children of Qinglong sighed. Even cultivators in the same realm cannot resist such a blow. Seeing this, Mu Qing's furrowed eyebrows slightly relaxed. Although he didn't want to admit it, Chen Chi's ability to fight against Yuncheng Shan to such an extent was greatly beyond his expectations. This is the end of your confrontation with me. Yuncheng Shan was suspended in mid-air, looking at Chen Chi, who was shrouded in thick smoke and uncertain about his life and death. A cold smile couldn't help but curl up at the corner of his mouth. Look at what this is. It's Chen Chi, he didn't die. Mu Qingxiu's face slightly changed and his hand tightened slightly. Oh. Qin Changtian let out a surprised voice. Amidst the dust, a bloody figure rushed out, wielding a long spear with a murderous aura. A faint roar of dragons and tigers could be heard. Angry dragon instant killing spear plus killing spear, damn it, little. Take me another shot. Chen Chi roared angrily, and with one shot, he launched a shocking gun violence, fiercely killing Yuncheng Shan. The twin feathers of Yuncheng Mountain returned to their cage, transforming into a spiritual shield. A heavy blow hit the shield, and the killing force crushed the power of the spirit feather with an unstoppable force. How could it be? Yuncheng Shan discovered that Chen Chi's shot had pierced through his spiritual feathers. I'll see what gear you're using. Chen Chi's spiritual power once again crazily operated the anti-immortal thief technique, and the vast spiritual power continued to surge out. At the same time, the white tiger killing spear in his spiritual body began to howl low. Take a shot straight at Yuncheng Shan's head. You. Yuncheng Shan's face changed wildly, as in that moment he felt a fatal crisis. He instinctively dodged on his side, barely avoiding the key point. But this gun, like lightning, still pierced through Yuncheng Shan's body. I saw Yuncheng Shan's arm directly exploded into blood mist. Ah! In excruciating pain, Yun Chongshan let out a fierce roar as he pulled his severed arm. On the other hand, Chen Chi half knelt on the ground and spat out a mouthful of blood. The combination gun he had just fired had exhausted his spiritual power. Just a little bit, damn it. Chen Chi punched the ground hard. What, I didn't read it wrong, did I? Our elder lost one hand. A group of Qingyun children stood up from their seats and stared blankly at everything in front of them. Mu Qingxiu glanced at Yun Qianwei, who was still unconscious not far away, unsure of what he was thinking. Son of a bitch, I want to kill you. Yun Chongshan reacted, his eyes instantly engorged with blood, and his killing intent was overwhelming. He rushed towards Chen Chi like a madman. Chen Chi struggled to stand up from the ground, with no fear in his eyes. Why wasn't he prepared for the college today? Just as he was preparing to escape, a middle-aged man in blue suddenly arrived. The middle-aged man waved back the angry Yun Chongshan with one hand and said leisurely, after 100 moves, why is the Grand Elder Qingyun so shameless? Qin Changtian, this matter has nothing to do with you. Get out of my way, Yun Chongshan roared ferociously. Noisy, even your dean dare not speak to me like that. What are you? Qin Changtian swung his palm towards the cloud-heavy mountain. With one palm, he flipped through the clouds and mountains, leaving a crimson palm print on his face. You. One more sentence, believe it or not, I'll hit you again. Qin Changtian's cold gaze locked on Yun Chongshan. Yun Chongshan tightly held his hemostatic arm and stared at Qin Changtian and Chen Chi with resentment, but dared not take any more action. Kid, how about joining me Xuantian? Qin Changtian suddenly turned his head and said to Chen Chi. Just slapping you, why not join Xuantian? Ha ha ha, I like your personality, kid. Qin Changtian suddenly burst out laughing. Chen Chi knew that after today, he stood opposite Qingyun, facing not only the father and daughter of Yun Chongshan in the future, but the entire Qingyun Academy. Xuantian, as one of the 3 major colleges in Jiang State, is not much weaker than Qingyun in strength. Moreover, Xuantian and Qingyun have never been able to deal with each other. Although the 2 academies may seem to greet each other with smiles, it is common for them to engage in open and covert struggles. Joining Xuantian can at least protect him from being targeted by Qingyun Mingzhao in the short term. This is also one of the reasons why Chen Chi agreed to Qin Changtian. Qin, are you sure you want to bring him into Xuantian? He has his roots in need, and there will never be another chance to transform into a feather. There's no need to oppose Qingyun for his sake, right? Mu Qingxiu stood up from her seat, with a low voice but a hint of anger. Qin Changshanlang smiled and said, how can it be called opposition? Xiao Qi has already left Qingyun, so why not invite him into Xuantian? After staring at Qin Changtian for a long time, Mu Qingxiu smiled and said, since your institution insists on taking away the garbage that we Qingyun don't want, then I can only say thank you. I hope you can still say this thank you in the future, kid, let's go. Qin Changtian grabbed Chen Chi and wanted to fly onto the back of the spirit beast. Chen Chi suddenly spoke up, wait a minute. Oh. Qin Changtian looked at Chen Chi with great interest. Chen Chi's cold gaze fell on Yun Chongshan and said, old dog, this arm is just interest. Please keep your father and daughter's heads for me, and I will personally come and retrieve them tomorrow. Mu Qingxiu, please remember today's incident for me, and I will return it to you bit by bit. Yun Chongshan tightly clenched his fist in anger. This bastard is too ignorant to provoke him with harsh words now. On the other hand, Mu Qingxiu's eyes twitched slightly, and those familiar with him knew that he had been provoked. That's it. Qin Changtian said with a smile. Done. Then let's go, ha ha ha. Qin Changtian left with a burst of laughter. Brother Mu, then I won't disturb you either. Jiang Taishu also said goodbye. After the outsider left, Mu Qingxiu's face suddenly darkened and he said, starting from today, we will do our best to cultivate Yun Qianwei. I understand, the elders hurriedly said. Yun Chongshan, it's up to you to conclude this matter. If I hear any rumors that are unfavorable to the college, you can bring your head to see me. A petty person must be able to do it, Yun Chongshan hurriedly said. Humph. Mu Qingxiu snorted coldly before shaking his sleeves and leaving. Chapter 8. Qinglong True Body Technique, Combining Martial Arts Skills. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. You're really risking your life, Qin Changtian glanced at Chen Chi, whose breath was slightly weak. Otherwise, how could I possibly kill that old dog? Chen Chi said with resentment. Qin Changtian looked at Chen Chi calmly for a long time and suddenly chuckled lightly. The reason why he recruited Chen Chi into Xuantian was because he valued his strength and this crazy energy. This is the Tai Xian Hui Yuan Dan. Take it first and try to recover as soon as possible. Qin Changtian took out the spiritual pill from his pocket and handed it to Chen Chi. High-quality pill, Tai Xian Hui Yuan Dan. Pills, martial arts, and spiritual weapons are all divided into 9 levels. Firstly, there are the top and bottom 3 grades, followed by the royal grade, imperial grade, sacred grade, semi-divine grade, and divine grade. And each major level is divided into 3 levels. Upper, middle, and lower. Chen Chi looked at Qin Changtian in surprise. You should know that high-quality pills are very valuable, so he gave them to him for healing. What, afraid of being toxic? Qin Changtian frowned. Chen Chi took the pill and said, "Thank you. I will return this favor to you." Speaking, Chen Chi walked back to his room. Each flying spirit beast has an independent resting space. Qin Changtian understood Chen Chi's defense and smiled indifferently. After entering the room, Chen Chi took a step into the Immortal Prison picture. The time flow of the Immortal Prison Map is different from the outside world, and it is an excellent place for him to practice and heal injuries. After taking the Tai Xian Hui Yuan Dan, Chen Chi quickly used the anti-immortal thief technique to infuse the medicinal effects of the pill into his body along the spiritual meridians. 3 days later, Chen Chi woke up. After 3 days of treatment with the Tai Xian Hui Yuan Dan, his body has improved significantly, and it will take some time for him to fully recover. Let's practice it now. At this moment, Xian Zhuyo's voice rang out, and a light shot into Chen Chi's mind. Before Chen Chi could react, Xian Zhuyo's voice continued to ring. This is a body-refining martial art that combines offense and defense. Although it is only a king's grade, practicing it can help your body recover quickly. Another thing is that it can enhance your defense. Only one.Ten. Is this human language? You should know that all 3 colleges only have one top-notch martial arts skill, and it is still inferior. But roast belongs to roast. Chen Chi still quickly checks the information in his brain. The Qinglong True Body Technique first caught the eye, followed by detailed information. The Qinglong True Body Technique only has 2 levels, and there is no record of the last level of cultivation. First level. Qinglong Blood Scale Body, forged with Qinglong blood or spirit beast blood to block attacks from 3rd level adult spirit beasts, while also enhancing attack and recovery power. The levels of spirit beasts are divided into 3 levels. First, second, and third, followed by the royal level, imperial level, holy level, semi-divine level, and divine level. And each major level is divided into 3 levels. Upper, middle, and lower. Adult 3rd order spirit beasts are equivalent to cultivators in the feather transformation realm. Second level. Black bone body of Qinglong, cast with Qinglong bone marrow to obtain the power of a Qinglong. No wonder only one.Ten is missing the most important one. Is Qinglong really still there? Perhaps it's just a 2nd level decoration. Chen Chi couldn't help but smile bitterly and let out a sigh. Because the second most important thing is to use real Qinglong bone marrow for casting. Anyway, let's try practicing the first level first. At this moment, Chen Chi closed his eyes again and began to study the first part of the Qinglong True Body Technique. The spiritual energy in mid-air began to flow into the spiritual orifice under the absorption of the vortex. When Chen Chi felt a surge of irritable blood in his body, he knew it was probably due to his martial arts. 2 days later, Chen Chi's breath suddenly shook as he crossed his knees in the immortal prison picture. As he opened his eyes, there was a flash of blood on his body, and a layer of blood-colored light covered his surface. Seeing this, Chen Chi's lips curved, indicating that he was familiar with the intricacies of the martial arts. But he knew that this was not even the first level of entry, it could only be considered as laying the foundation. To truly get started and even achieve great success, it is necessary to continuously absorb animal blood. When the blood scales and qi soar to the sky, this is the strongest state. But now Qinglong blood is temporarily unavailable, but spirit beast blood can be considered. Oh, my injury has already healed. Chen Chi was momentarily stunned. Later on, I realized that what Xian Jiuyo meant by restoring the body was this. Chen Chi did not immediately withdraw from the Immortal Prison Map, but began to try to merge the Angry Dragon Instant Killing Spear and the Killing Spear together again. This move was used by him with a flash of spiritual light when he was forced into death on Yunchong Mountain. Now he must turn this move into his own killing move. The Killing Spear is a spiritual killing spear condensed from the White Tiger Killing Spear, which is the tiny power that he can currently deprive from spiritual objects. The Angry Dragon Instant Killing Spear is a top-notch martial arts skill and also his ultimate move. The former emphasizes hegemony and killing. The latter emphasizes dominance and instant speed. To merge, it is necessary to re-unleash and gradually integrate the power of the killing gun. At this moment, Chen Chi took out a refined steel spear and flashed the technique of using the Fury Dragon's instant killing spear in his mind, step by step. One shot is faster than another. And it also needs to be fast with a murderous intent. Make every effort to kill someone before the gun reaches them. At first, Chen Chi just stabbed one shot after another. But Chen Chi knew that this was just the beginning, and everything had to be done step by step. A day later, Chen Chi continued to thrust one shot after another. 2 days later, Chen Chi's gun contained a dragon chant. 3 days later, Chen Chi's gun was gradually howling with a tiger. 4 days later 1 shot, 2 shots, 3 shots. The long spear in Chen Chi's hand flickered rapidly as it moved, 1 shot after another, and countless cold lights were constantly flashed through the air. Drink. As Chen Chi drank lightly, a shot was shot accompanied by the roar of dragons and tigers, and 2 giant beasts were faintly visible roaring in the sky and earth. The force emitted from the tip of the gun pierces through layers of air, causing a series of explosive sounds that tear apart the space. Who? Have you finally mastered it? After this move, let's call it the Angry Dragon Killing Spear. Chen Chi looked at the steel gun in his hand, which was emitting a low moan, and couldn't help but take a soft breath. Not too foolish, I know how to integrate the power of killing with external objects. Xian Jiu looked at all of this humorously and silently, satisfied with Chen Chi's intelligence. Although she sealed off the vast majority of the power of the spiritual object, Chen Chi's current abilities were unable to fully mobilize the remaining power of the spiritual object. And Chen Chi's method of attaching killing power to external objects just fills a certain gap, maximizing the killing power of microparticles. Chen Chi suddenly noticed a knocking on the door outside and couldn't help but stop his movements and retreat from the immortal prison picture. Restored. Xuantian immediately noticed Chen Chi's difference. Thanks to Dean Qin's elixir, otherwise I wouldn't have recovered so quickly. Xuantian shook his head and smiled. He didn't know how effective his medicine was. But everyone has their own secrets, and he didn't continue to ask. Dean Qin, are you doing something? Chen Chi couldn't help but ask when he saw Xuantian's slightly emotional state. I'm sorry, I can't personally take you back to Xuantian right now. Xuantian took out a token and handed it to Chen Chi, saying, "This is my dean's order. You can take the token to Xuantian and enter the hospital normally." Chen Chi didn't say much, he just took the dean's order. "It's very close to Xuantian here, just keep walking east." "Okay, I understand." Chen Chi nodded lightly. After getting off the flying spirit beast, Chen Chi didn't think much, just walked straight towards the direction of Xuantian Academy. Chapter 9. One punch to open, avoiding 100 punches. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Jiangguotian City, in front of Xuantian Academy. Have you finally arrived? Chen Chi looked up at the towering mountain gate in front of her and whispered softly. Stop. Chen Chi just stepped into the Xuantian gate, and the disciples guarding him immediately stopped him. Do you have a visiting token? Chen Chi took out the dean's order and handed it to the guarding disciple. Lin Lang took the dean's order and his face suddenly changed. Please wait here first, I will notify the elder. Chen Chi nodded. Chen Chi was not surprised by Lin Lang's reaction at all. No matter which college, the dean's order is the highest instruction, and no one dares to neglect it. Kid, who introduced you? Just then a young man approached. Behind him followed two young men of similar age, both of whom were not very old, around 16 years old. The strongest one is Bai Feng, who approached Chen Chi to inquire, with triple focus on the casting realm. Chen Chi gave Bai Feng a faint glance, but did not speak. I'm asking you a question, are you mute? Bai Feng couldn't help but look ugly when he saw Chen Chi ignoring him. Do you know who Feng Gu is? He is the designated disciple of Elder Xuantian II, and his brother is Xuantian's personal disciple Bai Yifan. Who gave you the courage to ignore Feng Gu? If you want to make things better in the future, apologize to Feng Gu immediately. The two children and the small class then pointed at Chen Chi and shouted. Seeing Chen Chi still ignoring them, Bai Feng stepped forward and grabbed Chen Chi's collar with one hand. Get lost. In an instant, Chen Chi's whole body was stirred up, and a terrifying murderous aura emerged, causing the temperature around him to suddenly cool down. The three teenagers were immediately frightened and their faces turned pale. Especially Bai Feng, who was about to attack Chen Chi, was so scared that he sat down on the ground. What a great aura, when will Xuantian turn to an outsider to be so arrogant? Just then a cold and piercing sound sounded. Chen Chi looked up and suddenly saw a proud young man appear outside the Xuantian gate. When Chen Chi saw the appearance of this young man, he suddenly realized something. If he guessed correctly, this person should be Bai Yifan, the older brother of Bai Feng. Brother, this kid is too arrogant. You can kill him for me. Bai Feng saw Bai Yifan appear and immediately got up from the ground, pointing at Chen Chi's face with a fierce expression. Bai Yifan looked coldly at Chen Chi and said, for the sake of your education in Xuantian, as long as you kneel down and apologize to my younger brother, I will no longer pursue this matter. Otherwise, don't blame me for being impolite. You have a lot of nonsense. Chen Chi's spiritual power condensed in his hands, and his claw instantly tore through the air, grabbing Bai Feng with a lightning-fast momentum. You want to die? Seeing that Chen Chi dared to take action, Bai Yifan was furious and met him with a fierce palm. Stop it. Just then an old voice sounded, instantly blocking between the two. Chen Chi and Bai Yifan's movements came to a sudden halt, and their gaze fell on the old man who was both in front of them. At this time, many new disciples followed the old man. Disciple Bai Yifan, I have seen Elder Gu. Bai Feng quickly saluted Gu Mukin as a disciple. Why did you fight at the mountain gate? Gu Mukin glanced at Bai Yifan and said. Bai Feng quickly added salt and vinegar to Chen Chi's behavior. Why? Gu Mukin looked at Chen Chi. Chen Chi spread out her hand and said, a few flies flew and another dog that bit people randomly came. It's just that simple. You. Bai Yifun's face immediately turned grim. Elder, it's him who brought the dean's order. Lin Lang explained the situation in Gu Mukin's ear at the right time. Gu Mukin glanced at Chen Chi and then said to the crowd, "This matter ends here." "What is it called?" Gu Mukin asked Chen Chi. "The boy's name is Chen Chi, and he has met Elder Gu." "I already know the situation, come with me," Gu Mukin said as he walked towards the Xuantian gate first. "Wait," Bai Yifan suddenly spoke up. "What's up?" Gu Mukin stopped his steps. "This brother came over with the dean's order, and I believe he must be very good in all aspects. Can you show it to us?" Bai Yifan looked at Chen Chi with a smile on his face, but this smile was clearly malicious. Upon hearing this, the other disciples immediately looked at Chen Chi in unison, and they were also very interested. There are only two types of people who rely on relationships to enter. One is a pustule, and the other is a true genius. Especially when Chen Chi came in with the dean's order and came alone, this situation is a bit intriguing. Chen Chi paused in his footsteps, turned his head to look directly at Bai Yifan, and sneered, "Personal display is so boring. Why don't we just use the beginner's assessment for gambling?" "How dare you? Introduction assessment for gambling and fighting. This person really dares." The other disciples of Xuantian looked at Chen Chi with a hint of pity. You should know that there are 3 levels in Xuantian's introductory assessment. The first level is ringing the Xuantian bell. This Xuantian bell is one of the wonders of their 3 major towns in Xuantian. The sound it relies not on the level of attack power or the strength of cultivation, but on the overall level of cultivators. The Xuantian bell will measure the potential of the cultivator based on their strike, with higher potential producing more sounds. The ultimate genius can make up to 9 sounds per strike. The highest record for a single hit in Xuantian Academy is 7 times. And their current first genius at Xuantian Academy, Li Zumo, only knocked out 6 times. As for Bai Yifan, his record is 4 rings, tied for 50th place. The second level is a stress test, and Bai Yifan happens to have an excellent and powerful body cultivation technique, which is not a problem for the second level. The third level is the comprehension test, which has no fixed method. But for the first 2 levels, Chen Chi is giving Bai Yifan a free score. Should I say, are you confident or foolish? Bai Yifan looked at Chen Chi disdainfully and said, "I agreed to the gambling fight, but if you lose, I want you to kneel down and apologize to my brother." "What if I win?" Chen Chi said. "What did you say you wanted me to do?" Bai Yifan never thought he would lose. "Senior brother Lin, I wonder what the academy exchanges for cultivation resources." Chen Chi asked Lin Lang. "Meritorious points." Lin Lang pondered without hesitation. "Then bet on all your merits. You have such a big appetite, so you're not afraid to swallow it to death." Bai Yifan changed his tone and said coldly, "But I agreed. I'll go, do you bet so much?" The disciples of Xuantian couldn't help but take a cold breath. Gu Mukin, who had not spoken for a long time, spoke up and said, "This gambling battle was entirely voluntary for you, and all consequences will be borne by yourselves." "Good Elder Gu, I understand the rules in the courtyard, young man," Bai Yifan hurriedly said. "Then follow me up to Xuantian Peak." Gu Mukin swept out with 1 step, and the wind blew under his feet. In a few moments, he landed on Xuantian Peak. "Kid, just wait and kneel down," Bai Yifan said coldly as he crossed over Chen Chi. Chen Chi's mouth curved slightly. Strike with 1 punch to avoid 100 punches. In fact, he had been waiting for such an opportunity all along, but he didn't expect Bai Yifan to come along just in time. Coincidentally, he took this opportunity to showcase himself in order to obtain more resources. At this moment, Chen Chi stepped out and followed in the footsteps of Gu Mukan to step onto Xuantian Peak. The other disciples followed suit one after another, and they wouldn't miss this grand occasion. Chapter 10. One gun suppresses Xuantian, bell sounds through heaven and earth. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. At this moment, Xuantian Peak surrounded many disciples of Xuantian, all of whom focused on Chen Chi and Bai Yifan. Which of you two will come first? Gu Mukan said calmly. Let him go first, don't say I bullied him when you lose, Bai Yifan sneered. Obviously, Bai Yifan did not take Chen Chi to heart. Chen Chi ignored Bai Yifan and instead looked at the huge bell hanging on the edge of the cliff not far away. The clock is a simple black color with various inscriptions engraved on its surface. Upon closer inspection, one can feel a layer of mist circulating on the surface. No wonder it can be called one of the three wonders of Xuantian, and indeed has its unique features. At this moment, Chen Chi slowly walked towards the Xuantian bell. How many shots can he make? Some disciples couldn't help but speak up. There should be 3 sounds, and even worse, there will be 2. After all, he was recruited by the dean. It's just a pity, it just provoked Bai Yifan. The disciples of Xuantian suddenly began to discuss. Who? Chen Chi let out a light breath and flipped his hand over to land the fine steel gun in his hand. Brush. Chen Chi swung his gun, and a bloody spiritual power shot out from his palm, instantly staining the entire spear. The head of the spear was as bloody as blood, like a volcano about to erupt at any moment. Chen Chi pulled his hand back, changed from 1 hand to 2 hands, and stepped forward with 1 foot. Suddenly, Chen Chi's long hair fluttered and his clothes began to hunt. Terrifying blood-colored spiritual power erupted from his body. There's something there. At the moment Chen Chi took action, many disciples of Xuantian shouted softly. Suddenly, they became increasingly excited about Chen Chi's next move. It's a bit interesting. Gu Mukan's mouth curved slightly, and he couldn't help but stroke his chin's beard. Angry Dragon Instant Killing Spear. Chen Chi's arms trembled and her muscles suddenly bulged. Swipe it and shoot it out with 1 shot. The long spear is like a dragon, piercing through the wind and tearing through the air, striking towards the Xuantian bell. Here we go. Everyone's eyes were fixed on the long spear, afraid to blink, afraid of missing any picture. Dong! A fierce shot hit the Xuantian bell. At the moment the blood-colored spiritual power touched the clock face, it suddenly exploded, with a faint sound of dragon roaring incessantly. In an instant, the huge Xuantian bell was overturned, and a dull bell rang throughout the entire Xuantian Academy. Everyone's pupils shrank. It was the first time they had seen a cultivator in the 6-fold casting body realm who, with 1 strike, overturned the Xuantian bell. But they know better that the real test is still the aftermath, whether it's a dragon or a worm depends on that. How many times will it be? The disciples couldn't help but look forward to it. Seeing Chen Chi's powerful blow, Bai Yifan's face couldn't help but look ugly. Dang! The 2nd sound. Dang! The 3rd sound. Brush! All disciples' eyes fell on Bai Yifan's face. Bai Yifan clenched his fists tightly, his face gloomy and ferocious. Dang! The 4th sound. At the moment when the 4th sound sounded, the faces of the disciples changed. Si Xiang ranked 50th in their Xuantian ranking, and most importantly, he tied the record of Bai Yifan. The bell hasn't stopped yet. A disciple couldn't help but growl softly. Damn it, how could this be? How could a new kid like him hit 4 shots? Bai Yifan, who was also paying attention to the scene, roared in disbelief. Dang! Another sound. It's already 5 rings, my goodness. When the 5th ring rang, everyone was completely shocked. At the same time, Chen Chi also used facts to slap the faces of those who looked down on him one by one. Dang! The sixth sound. The moment this sound sounded, it indicated that Chen Chipping had broken Li Zumo's record. One more sound of Chen Chi can level the historical record of Xuantian. Can he level the historical records? All the disciples of Xuantian held their breath for an instant and stared at Xuantian Bell intently. The seventh sound, the seventh sound, the seventh sound. Some disciples of Xuantian couldn't help but shout for Chen Chi. There is a rhythm of joining if you can't win. Can you create miracles? Gu Mukan also became nervous at this moment. Originally, he didn't have much expectation for Chen Chi, and allowed Bai Yifan's provocation with the intention of beating and hitting Chen Chi, so that he wouldn't be proud of being spoiled. But he never expected that Chen Chi would bring him such a big surprise. Dang! Counting breaths of time feels like a world apart, but the long bell still rings, hitting everyone's hearts at the same time. The seventh sound is the seventh sound. The disciples shouted in unison, and in an instant, everyone was boiling. Dean, where did you find the monster? Gu Mukan also became excited. You see, the inscription on the Xuantian bell is still flickering, and the sound of the bell is likely not over yet. The shocked crowd also noticed this scene, their pupils couldn't help but burst with light, and their breathing stopped in an instant. They know what this represents. It's too crazy. Gollum. The disciples kept swallowing their saliva, and they were shocked and numb. Is there an eighth sound? The wait was long, and they could all hear the nervous heartbeat and the panting of cows clearly. Gu Mukan also tightened his fists nervously at this moment. The eighth sound represents the creation of a legend, and he will also be a witness to this legend. Dang! The eighth sound finally rang out, and it soared into the sky. The entire Xuantian Academy suddenly shook. It's 8 sounds, really 8 sounds, the crowd shouted desperately. They originally thought that 7 sounds was the limit, but never expected it to be 8 sounds. What is the concept of 8 sounds? It is unprecedented and unprecedented. This achievement is something that Xuantian has never possessed before. Senior, if there are 9 sounds, please help me suppress them, Chen Chi whispered to Xian Jiuyo. 8 sounds are enough to attract the attention of everyone in Xuantian. If you are too sharp and outspoken, it is easy to be missed by those who have intentions. This will only put oneself in an irreversible situation. It's pretty good, I wasn't blinded by the momentary honor or disgrace. I helped with this. Upon receiving a response from Xian Jiuyo, Chen Chi completely let go of his worries. At this moment, the sky suddenly changed, and a beam of heaven and earth creation spiritual flow fell from the sky, enveloping Chen Chi in it. Did the Xuantian bell ring 8? The elders in the academy woke up from their practice and quickly raided out of the mansion. At this moment, at Xuantian Peak, a group of elders had already arrived at the scene, followed closely by many personally transmitted disciples. Big Elder, Second Elder, Third Elder. They all came over unexpectedly. Do you see who they are? Sister Lin. Brother Mo. They also came out of the secret realm. Oh my goodness, it's really lively today. Elder Zhao Zhan pointed to Chen Chi beside him and asked, which genius disciple of our academy is he? Gu Mukan smiled bitterly and said, actually, he is not a disciple of our Xuantian Academy. What are you saying? Zhao Zhan couldn't help but shout loudly. Such a genius, if it weren't for the disciples of their Xuantian Academy, it would have been a nightmare. Bai Yifan stood in the corner, clenched his fists, with crimson eyes, staring intently at Chen Chi not far away. He never expected that an outsider would break the college record. Why does that kid have such talent? Upon this thought, the jealousy in Bai Yifan's eyes became even more intense, and his entire face couldn't help but look grim. Which college's disciple is he? The other elders quickly asked. He is not a disciple of another college either. In fact, he was just recruited by the dean and has not been officially admitted yet. So, Gu Mukan explained the whole story of the matter. Okay. After hearing Gu Mukan's words, Zhao Zhan excitedly said 3 good things in a row. The dean is indeed wise and discerning, said Zhao Zhan excitedly. We must cultivate this kid well, and his achievements will never be lower than Xiao Mo's. Zhao Zhan seemed to have thought of something and said solemnly, today's matter is a major event for me in the Xuantian world. Whenever a word about the 8 rings of the Xuantian bell is leaked, I personally executed his 9 clans. Do you understand? Upon hearing Zhao Zhan's warning, the children also knew the seriousness of the matter and hurriedly said, we understand. Luoyue, where did the dean find such a genius? Mo Shuangxing said leisurely. I don't know, Lin Luoyue said indifferently, without a smile on her cold face. 6-fold casting body realm, this realm happens to be stuck at an awkward level, is it impossible to achieve scattered cultivation? Mo Shuangxing's face was puzzled. It's not surprising that they don't know Chen Chi. Chen Chi's identity information has been hidden very well at Qingyun Academy due to awakening his spiritual body, and few people know about his existence. But today he is considered famous in the courtyard, and our status may not be guaranteed in the future, said Mo Shuangxing with a gentle smile on his lips. He. Although Lin Luoyue's face remained expressionless, her gaze had an indescribable surprise, indicating that she was also shocked by Chen Chi's performance.